So I have a Steam Deck. Now, SteamOS is a fantastic little distro, and it works great. Now, with the Steam Deck, you can also install something like Windows if you really wanted to hate yourself. They do make it possible. But that also brought into another thought. One of the things that I had been playing with is Bazzite, which has its own handheld option. But there's also CachyOS that has its own handheld. So, which one's going to be better? What's going to give me the best 1% lows and FPS? The downside is that I don't have any games that have a built-in benchmark because I just don't. A lot of those games are AAA games that I just don't own. But what I do have is things like, Subnautica. I also have No Man's Sky, and I have Pacific Drive. And these games aren't necessarily like common games, but I do think that they fit a little bit more on that performance demand. So I wanted to go ahead and benchmark that using Mango HUD and its summary feature that it has when you record record with the overlay. I had to record all of this stuff after. Oh, it's over there. I forgot to flip my camera. I had to record all of this after the fact because I didn't want to, negatively affect the frame rates. By the way, what just happened right there with Pacific Drive? Thanks, Noble. You helped out a lot with playing Pacific Drive. So, anyways, gotta love cats. But yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what information we have regarding how the performance is with taking a look at the first one, which is Subnautica. Now, Subnautica is a beautiful, beautiful game. If you haven't played it, it's a great, fantastic experience. And overall, it did pretty well. With SteamOS on stock, we have a 1% low of 18.82, which isn't horrible. We also have an average FPS of 45.2. CachyOS, we have a 17.47, which is, within margin of error for Steam stock, as well as 41.3, which I would say is still within margin of error. Bazzite, though, on the other hand, does drop down a bit, down to 15.96 with an average FPS of 38.1. And this kind of trend seems to kind of follow. If we go ahead and take a look at No Man's Sky with the results for it, we're looking at No Man's Sky on stock. We're at a 28.92 with an average FPS of 53.6. On CachyOS, we're looking at 17.33, which isn't fantastic. Your average 1% lows, at least if I'm understanding it correctly, is what 1% of those frames per second is at the 0.1% of how many frames are actually produced. So then we're at 54.6 for our average frames per second. And then Bazzite drops down to 15.96 with an average of 38.1. None of these are unplayable. None of this is bad. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more when it came to CachyOS and Bazzite for the performance. Pacific Drive, though, is where it gets kind of weird. With Pacific Drive, we got this strange metric. So we're getting 3.32 with an average of 14.8. The footage again is not from the Steam Deck. It's after the fact, just recorded on my desktop. But nothing was chuggy feeling, like nothing was like held back kind of feeling. It ran smooth. It was enjoyable. But also CachyOS, we have an average of 1.57 with 14.7. So we're really within the realm of the Steam Deck. But then Bazzite does this weird thing of 0.55 for the 1% lows with an average of 10.1. It didn't even feel like the game was running slow. So I'm gonna go with maybe there's some type of issue with my testing methodology. If somebody can go ahead and leave some suggestions in the comments, I would highly appreciate that. But it was a fun little experiment. Now the real question is what we come down to here. Which one's better to go with? Should we be going with something like CachyOS? Should we stay stock on stock SteamOS, or should we go with Bazzite? Realistically, I don't have an answer for you. I've been using CachyOS for the past 2.5, 3 weeks for my Steam Deck. my Steam Deck is my thing that I use, especially when I get bored at work. And I haven't noticed any problems with using this, CachyOS over the top of using the Steam Deck. I've enjoyed my experience with it, and I had been running Bazzite beforehand, and these are the games that I play. I don't have any complaints about frame rate issues. I don't have any complaints about how the game functions. I haven't noticed any issues. So if somebody could give me some advice on what we should be looking at, because I'm not a big time benchmarker as it is, it was just a curious question. I'd highly appreciate some input. Just leave that down in the comments. Now, there is the question that we do come down to, which is how do we install something like Bazzite on, our Steam Deck or CachyOS for that matter? SteamOS is a little bit more complicated, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what we got here. Now, regardless of if you're doing CachyOS or the Bazzite, it's going to be the same thing across the board. So we're going to go ahead and go to bazzite.gg. All right. And we're going to go over here to downloads. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, which it doesn't take you to. The reason why I'm showing the Bazzite is because it's a little bit more annoying. Yeah. So if we go down here, we can see that we have the Steam Deck. We also have options like the Legion Go, the ROG Ally and Ally S, the GDP, the One X player, and down the list. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and select our Steam Deck. This applies to the LCD or the OLED options. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick our desktop environment. You can do GNOME if you'd like to do GNOME, or if you're fine with doing KDE, we can go ahead and select KDE. And then we're just going to go ahead and select download. And that's it. We just start downloading, Bazzite OS. The same thing applies, though, to also going over to CachyOS. Go over to CachyOS.org, go to download, and the handheld edition. We can go ahead and select that and select direct, or if you want to use my favorite with the torrents, you can go ahead and do that as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and type in lsblk. We're going to go ahead and type that in the actual terminal, lsblk. Now I'm going to only be showing how to do this on the Linux side of things, because that's where we're at now. We live here on the world of Linux. If you want to do it on Windows, just use Rufus. It's the same way as I've shown you all the other stuff. This is the same way as I've shown you the other things as well with it when it comes to making a ISO, a USB inside of Linux. But I'm just going to keep, reinforcing it and showing you guys how to make this work. So we have our SDE, which is our 32 gig disk right here. I just know that it's 29.3 gigs is the disk. If you unplug it, you can then find that that's, correct by typing in lsblk, because it won't be there, and then plug it back in. Now you know which one it is. So we're going to go ahead and do sudo dd bs for block size equals 14m input file equals, and we're going to go ahead and copy over. We'll do our Bazzite. Go ahead and copy over our Bazzite install. And then we're going to do output file, and then equals, and then /dev/SDE. And then we're going to go ahead and do progress, good Lord, equals status. And we're going to do output file lag equals sync. Alrighty. Oh. Bam, capital M. Yeah, block size equals capital M 14. And I got that one flipped. Status equals progress. Status equals progress. Gotta love it. And then it's going to go ahead and start making our USB drive for us. And then once that's done, we'll go ahead and show you how to make the install for SteamOS. All right, and it's as easy as that. I'm going to go ahead and cut over to earlier David doing the installs, because I've already got my Steam Deck all set back up how I want it, so I'm not going to be showing you how to do that here. whatever gaffes or gabs or whatever happened. Yeah, we'll just, you can go ahead and suffer through that. So that's going to start now. All right, so it turns out that earlier David is a complete moron and didn't have his mic unmuted, just like this David had just done during the start of re-recording the thing that wasn't recorded. So we've got our USB drive. I've got it plugged in here to the back of my keyboard. You're gonna need a keyboard for this entire experience here, but I've got it plugged into the back of my keyboard, which supports pass-through. So this is where we're at. What we're gonna do is we're gonna plug in our USB drive. If you have a wireless keyboard, that's gonna make your life easier. If you have a hub, it's gonna make your life even easier. But what we're gonna do once you have all that sorted is we're gonna hold volume down and press the power button. We're also gonna have it shut off. Give me a moment. All right, now with it powered off, we're gonna hold down on the volume down button. We're gonna press the power button. And that's eventually gonna load us up with the Steam logo there, which gets cut off because of that. And then we'll see, at least for me, we'll see the Lexar USB. My camera is not the greatest for this experience. Works better on face cams. But we're gonna go ahead and press A to accept it. It's going to load through this quick little test environment thing. You can also select to pass, just go straight into the install, or you can do test, similar to how things work with the Steam install or the Bazzite or the Cachyos install process. For the sake of brevity, though, what I'm going to go ahead and do is just go ahead and skip that process. For the testing, you should definitely test everything the entire time, because things can go south. So once this loads up, we'll go ahead and I'll show you what to do from there. It'll show this normal, like, loading thing. So okay, and then Bazzite is pretty simple. So we're gonna go ahead and click continue down here at the bottom. Come on, continue. There we go. And then installation destination. All right, we're gonna go ahead and click our NVMe drive that's in there. We're gonna click done. And in my particular situation, and yours most likely as well, you're gonna need to reclaim space, just like what we do on the desktop itself. All right, delete all and reclaim space. And then for user creation, we can go in here and we can change that name if we'd like to be changed. I'm going to go ahead and do Moiety. And going to require a password. I'm going to go ahead and click skip, just because it's going to make my process a little bit easier. And done. And then begin installation. Going to make some processes easier, because while I'm in here back going into Bazzite, I might as well work on something for another video. So once that install is done, I'll go ahead and show you the desktop. It's pretty simple. You just log in like you do with your normal Steam Deck. Actually, we won't even show you the process. It's literally like you just log in like you would with your normal Steam Deck. Back to David from earlier before this, and now you're back. So say you don't like being on like Cachy or Bazzite OS and you want to go back to the stock. Well, that's really easy. We're going to go over here to Google real quick. We're going to go ahead and type in stock Steam Deck install. All right. And that's going to give us a bunch of garbage, but because, Google likes to throw AI crap inside of there. There's good AI and then there's bad AI. That is bad AI. But we have the Steam support page, which says SteamOS recovery and installation. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and click right here where it says reimage/install SteamOS. We're going to go ahead and click download recovery image, and we'll click that there. We have to select this box here and press download. Now, there's something really important here. Since we're inside of Linux, this information right here is going to be extremely valuable to us. So we'll go ahead and stop this download real quick because I already have that image installed. And we're going to go ahead and open up our terminal and our window right here. With Steam Deck, you're going to be SteamOS. You're going to be doing it with Bazzite. So this is the important thing. Bazzite. Just type it that way. Steam Deck dash recovery, and we're going to do. Sorry, wrong thing. Bazzite. And then we're going to drag and drop our file from our recovery. All right. Then we're going to do pipe sudo dd input file equals /dev/stdin output file equals /dev for device /SDE. Yours is probably going to be different. Okay, output file lag, OF lag equals sync status equals progress BS equals block size 128 capital M. And that, my friends, is going to go ahead and start writing that image. In which case, now you're probably done with it if you decide to pause now. Nope, okay, too late. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and shoot over to earlier David, who had a lot of struggles with all of this working. So it's going to be edited like crazy because that's just the magic of you. That's just the magic of YouTube. Okay, so real fast, forgot to mention on that, the reason why the keyboard is important on the Bazzite and Cachyos install is because there's no virtual keyboard for some reason in those installs, and you need to connect to Wi-Fi for that. But that's a very simple, cut and dry. We're beyond that being a difficult thing. We're working with inside of Linux, so that's a easy one. Maybe I'll do just a video in the future showing how to install these OSs a little bit more thoroughly. But this is just kind of a basic thing I'm adding to the middle section of the video that we're doing here, just comparing the two. Anyways, here's our USB for the stock SteamOS. Plug that USB in. We don't need a keyboard in this scenario. Volume down. We're going to hold. We're going to go ahead and press the power button, and it's going to boot up into what we need it to boot up into. Here we go. And then the option that we're going to do is it's going to have our UEFI USB disk. And we're going to go ahead and press A on that. And this installation is largely automated with the SteamOS, the stock SteamOS. There is a little bit of a desktop experience that we have where we're going to go ahead and select that we want to re-image the console or the handheld. So once we get to that portion, I'll go ahead and show you where we're at with that. All right, so this is finally loaded up. It just has to do a standard type of desktop environment that we see when we're installing Linux itself, where it's kind of got that try before you buy environment. This process does take a little while. It's loading on the Steam Deck, and it's not extremely fast. If you're ever concerned if everything's working, generally what you'll find is if you wibble wobble here, you can feel it clicking. So if you go down here to the Wi-Fi section that's right here, it'll show your network options, and then that's where the wireless keyboard is effective to have, or just having it plugged in. So I'll kind of show that real quick. On mine, I've got a Royal Kludge, so I've got Bluetooth on it. So we're just going to go ahead and hold, and we're going to link it, and then it'll see my RK keyboard and next, and then it's going to have a bunch of nightmarish panicking that it's doing. The same thing happens though within this side of things as well. I can go ahead and connect to my Wi-Fi, and then I can enter in my password. It's gonna be a pain in my butt. Go, and then it'll connect to my Wi-Fi. But that's kind of what I should have shown in the stock SteamOS install environment. So now it's unnecessarily connected to my Wi-Fi. So that's fine. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and close. Whatever. We're gonna go ahead and connect here. Or we're gonna go ahead and proceed with that install. So wipe device and install SteamOS. That's the option that's there. You also have clean local user data, repair SteamOS install, and terminal window repair tool. And then we have that option as well. As I push Noble off the side, you're rocking Dad's camera, buddy. All right, wipe device. And I hit it like 12 million times. Proceed. We're gonna click cancel, cancel. Every single time I wind up doing that. So this is gonna go ahead and run through part of this repair. All right. There we go. There we go. All right, so it's gonna go through and load everything into RAM and everything that it needs. And then it's a pretty quick process, in all honesty. Once you get everything loaded, and it's automated, so it goes through and runs the majority of everything just on its own and handles that. All right, and then it says reimaging complete. We click proceed, and it's going to go ahead and restart for us. This just takes a couple of minutes here. Everything gets closed out. It's if you're used to Linux at this point, you already know what's going on. I'm just trying to fill the void in the air and everything, before the editor just skips ahead of me, and because then I feel like I'm not personally valid. He skipped over me, didn't he? Anyways, so here we go. Now we're just at our stock SteamOS. It's really easy to get back. Just follow through, connect to Wi-Fi, follow all the prompts like you would when you first got your Steam Deck, and sign into Steam. Back to David, who probably skipped over me. Regardless of what you choose to do or where you decide to go with it, playing games on a Steam Deck is actually a fantastic experience. They did a great job at fine-tuning it, and I'm honestly excited to see what happens with things like the Legion Go and the ROG Ally and everything as SteamOS becomes something that's more ubiquitous, hopefully, across all of those devices. Regardless, though, if you want to play it on Cachyos or Bazzite OS or Bob's OS, I don't know, or just on the stock Steam Deck with the stock Steam OS, you should have a fantastic job or time when it comes to it. Obviously, it's not going to be able to play games that have anti-cheat, so we're still waiting for Tim Sweeney to finally get it anyways, and add the ability for you to play it on SteamOS or on Linux just all together with Fortnite. But that's a story for another time. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Just click the subscribe button. Hey guys, I'm gonna stop myself from rambling. You can listen to me ramble at the end, but regardless, thank you very much for watching this. I know that it was probably really clunky, and there's a few things that I was like, well, you know what, lessons learned for the next video. If you guys have any answers on how to do a more clean type of testing, I'd highly appreciate that information. Just leave it down in the comments or hop into the Discord. The link will be down in the description. This is the first time I've done a multi-day thing between going to work as well as making dinner for my family every single night, and cleaning throughout the house, and being a dad and a grandfather, and all of that. This type of thing takes a lot of effort. I've had to re-image my Steam Deck multiple times and download games over and over again to make sure that I have everything put together, and then later on realizing I could have just put it all on the SD card and then just transferred it over to the drive. Lessons learned. lessons learned. But thank you guys very much for watching. If you want to keep listening to me ramble, keep watching it until the end of the video. If not, thank you very much. Do me a favor and leave a like on it, because this means the world to me. We'll see you guys in the next one. Don't be afraid to drive on into the rift. Also, I did that entire video blind, so you got to give me props, because glasses reflect and it annoys me watching it in the editing process. So leave a like for that at least. And if anybody has a better testing methodology, I'm going to keep playing with it. But if anybody has any ideas for a better testing methodology, please, for the love of all that is good in this world, let me know, because there's got to be a better answer to getting that type of stuff done. Okay, bye.